All right, Federico, it's time for MacStories Rewind, a little something for people to enjoy for their weekend, plus a short recap of what happened on MacStories this week. How you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you, John. As we're recording this, I am, let's see, 5 hours away from being able to play Pokemon Legends Arceus on my Nintendo Switch. It unlocks at, I hope that it usually it does. It should unlock at midnight for me, which would be Friday, the 28th in Italy. So I think tonight I should be able to put in a couple of hours into the game, maybe.
I think I think that's the way it's worked on other releases. This is when I'm very jealous that you live in the future by 7 hours, because I'll be sitting here, it'll be dinner time, and you'll be sending me texts about Pokemon, and I won't be able to play it for many hours still. But in any event, that will be very nice. That's a nice little treat for finishing our MacStories starter pack. After a very busy week, we can spend the weekend playing some video games.
Yes.
But I think you've got a different pick for us this week. What do you have?
I have two picks. I wanna share two of them. So the first one is a TV show. It's the last season of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I love Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I consider this show maybe the second best comedy show in terms of time to laughing ratio for me. Like,
really?
Oh yeah, the first one would be The Office, the American version of The Office.
I have a confession, Federico.
Okay.
I've never watched Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Oh wow. Okay.
Well, I shouldn't say I've never watched it. I've watched a handful of episodes, but I've never really sat down. How many seasons are there? Am I gonna
8 seasons. It was canceled after season 7. And I don't remember the network. NBC, maybe they picked it up again for a last season.
I think so.
Which is season 8 that you can purchase on iTunes like I do. John, you should really rectify that.
I should, especially in the wintertime when I'm stuck at home and not going out as much. I should definitely spend some time, because those kind of TV shows are great because they're short and you can burn through a bunch of them at once.
Yeah. So, for those not familiar, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, starring Andy Samberg, you may know from a bunch of Saturday Night Live segments. You may know as one of the members of The Lonely Island, which is like this satirical sort of pop boy band. I don't even know how to describe them. They did the famous song "I'm on a Boat," for example, many years ago. You know Andy Samberg, and you've seen the memes, you've seen the gifs, you know the guy, and he plays Detective Jake Peralta, who's a detective at the 99th precinct in New York City. And this is a classic office sitcom, right? It's a workplace sitcom that stars the police force, obviously. And what I love about it is that they, especially in the last season, which would be my pick, it's specifically the last season, they are acknowledging all the issues and controversies that have surrounded the police brutality in the United States. It's not a great time to do a comedy show about white guys in uniforms, because of all the problems that even
Right.
in Italy we hear of those problems in the United States. But I think the creators, the showrunners of Nine-Nine, they found a really thoughtful and tasteful way to deal with these issues, including, for example, a storyline in the last season that includes one of the main characters, Amy Santiago, pushing forward this plan for a police reform in New York City. So that's one of the storylines carried throughout season 8. But the thing about Brooklyn Nine-Nine, of course, is it's the jokes and the characters. And like I said, for example, last night I was watching episode 6 or 7 of the last season. I was literally crying in laughter. Like, this is after The Office, this is the show that makes me laugh the most. It's got that mix of a bunch of people being idiots and saying stupid things, and really stupid, but sometimes also quite wise, and I don't want to say intellectual, but very refined jokes that totally works for me. Like, it's an absurd TV show where people do absurd things, and it really works it's my kind of comedy, it's my kind of irony as well.
Uh-huh.
And again, in the last season, it's a bit bittersweet. I think they're playing it really well in terms of how they're using this final, especially the last two episodes. Without, I don't want to spoil anything, but as a final send off, like in a way that it's built into the story itself. Like they are fully taking stock of the fact that it's ending, but they are doing a proper send off that is in line and consistent with some of the jokes and some of the things that they've done on the show before, which I think is really well done and really funny also. Absolutely love this TV show, and the last season is a good one. Like I said, I appreciate how they're dealing with some issues, including racial profiling, for example. I mean, one of the main character Jake gets suspended for 6 months for like they're doing really cool things in terms of acknowledging the current world that we live in and people's relationship to police officers, but while keeping the upbeat and funny nature of the show. It's really good. I love it. It makes me laugh a lot, and I know that I will miss this TV show. John, you should really watch it.
Yeah, I really should. I think I will. That really sounds like a good season. I mean, and that's not an easy thing to do, to cover, in a thoughtful way, heavy topics like that, yet still be funny. So, well done, I guess. I'll have to check it out and check it out for myself. All right, what's your second pick, Federico?
My second pick is, I mentioned this before, I think. I've been replaying in preparation for the new Horizon Forbidden West video game that is coming out on PS4 and PS5 in a couple of weeks. I have been replaying Horizon Zero Dawn, the original Horizon that came out in 2017. I never actually played the original game because it launched a couple of weeks before a little thing called Nintendo Switch and Breath of the Wild. Very unfortunate timing for an open world video game. And I think that I'm not alone in this issue. I think that a ton of people started Horizon Zero Dawn in February 2017, only to abandon it for the Nintendo Switch and Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 weeks later. I think I've seen a bunch of people say, this exact thing also happened to me. So I wanted to play the game again. The game in the past 5 years has been updated twice. First, it got a PS4 Pro patch that increased the resolution and frame rate. And then it got a PS5 patch. So if you play this PS4 game on a PS5, you will be able to play the game at 4K checkerboard resolution at 60 frames per second. And let me tell you, it looks fantastic. Like, even as a game from 5 years ago, at 4K 60, it looks great. Like, it's bright and colorful. And when you enter the darker areas, like there's these spots on the map called cauldrons, where it's like, without spoiling the story, these dark caves slash warehouses are the places where the machines, the robots that you fight in the game are produced. Are manufactured by, so far in the story, at least for me, unknown entity. And the dark colors and the dimly lit areas are really well done. And you got that contrast going in HDR. It's really beautiful. And what I love about this game, John, is the story in a way that I did not expect. Like, it's surprisingly captivating. I just thought, this is gonna be like a classic Ubisoft open world game that overwhelms you with side quests and extra content, because it's always, for Ubisoft, it's always in the name of content. But what I found is an open world game. Sure, the map is massive, yes. There is fast travel, yes. But it doles out side quests in a very limited fashion. Like, it doesn't overwhelm you. You don't have that feeling that you have when you play an Assassin's Creed game, for example. When I tried Assassin's Creed Odyssey a couple of years ago, or Valhalla on the Xbox last year, within 2 hours, you have 50 different things to do marked on your map. And I was like, geez, I'm not a teenager anymore. Who's got that kind of time? But I feel like Horizon strikes a much better balance in terms of, like, there's the main quest and there's a couple of side quests that you can follow. And a bunch of resources that you want, if you want, you can go gather on the map, but you don't have to. And I thought that was really well done. The combat is tight. Not God of War tight, but very close to it. Like, God of War for me is like the pinnacle of like what combat should feel like in a PlayStation game, like action adventure game. But this is a close second. And I really appreciate, unlike God of War, there's a ton of stealth involved, but it's not the kind of stealth that makes you feel stupid. Like whenever I played Metal Gear Solid, for example, or when I try to play other stealth games like Dishonored, I've always felt like those games made me anxious and nervous. Here, if you get spotted by a machine, it's fine. You can just start running and you're just going to fight the machine head on. Like you don't die immediately. So that's cool. And lastly, this is also something that I mentioned on my video game show Remaster with Mike. There's a very specific thing about Horizon that works for me, and that's the video game trope, I guess, of nature has taken over civilization, which is something that I always have, like the post-apocalyptic thing. You've seen this before in movies, in books, in TV shows, and in video games of like, oh, this used to be a city. Now everything is in ruins and there's trees and hills everywhere because nature has taken over.
This is why you want to go to a ghost town, isn't it?
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
It just occurred to me because we talked about that before.
That's a reference from our Club MacStories show, MacStories Unplugged.
From a long time ago, too.
From a long time ago. I have a thing for ghost towns. And now I guess why. This also taps into that part of my brain that wants to go visit a ghost town in America.
I'll send you my invoice for this therapy session.
Oh my God.
Federico.
Yes. What is it about visiting? Like, and even like a few weeks, this is totally an aside, I'm sorry. But a few weeks ago, I went on like this YouTube binge for this channel that explores abandoned warehouses, offices, work complexes.
Oh, I think that's pretty cool. There's some neat photography that people do in those places. And I bet you've watched some of those things where they explored Chernobyl and that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah, all of them. So yeah, I've watched all of those Chernobyl things. I don't know what it is, but this idea of like, oh, this used to be a place, now it's destroyed, and you can explore it and you can figure out why. You can find like old documents and broken chairs. I don't know. It really works for my brain. I got a thing for that, I guess. And all this to say, Horizon is very much about that because society was, again, in this point of the story, I don't know yet what happened, but these machines, these robots that are modeled after animals for some reason, again, I don't know why, they have destroyed humanity, and now humanity has regressed to a sort of like tribal-like civilization where they refer to previous to the previous society as the old ones in the metal world. And, in the tribe where you start out as Aloy, the tribe of the Nora, it is forbidden that you go visit one of these metal world places, like old labs or warehouses that are actually still present in the world. So, beautiful game, fun combat, cryptic story that I love, and nature taking over society kind of video game / movie trope that totally works for me. I'm having a great time. Now, I fully know that I will not be able to finish this game before the new one comes out, but it's fine. I'm going to play Pokemon Legends next, starting tonight, and I'll pick up Horizon again because I want to finish this one and the DLC called The Frozen Wilds before I start Forbidden West. But yeah, I'm all about... I think my 2022 is going to be all about Horizon, playing the original again, the DLC, and the new one.
No, it sounds good. I actually went looking. We own this game too, and I think a lot of people own this game and forgot that it's even on their system for the very reason that you said, that Switch came out right after. So it's pretty nice how on the PS5 so many of these older games. This is not a super old game, but they look really good. I mean, Uncharted 4 is another one that looks really good on the PS5.
And Uncharted just got the, what's it called? The PS5 remaster, like the Legacy Collection or something?
Right. Like $10. If you already own it, I think for $10, they basically have updated it with better graphics and so forth, right? Yeah. All right, Federico, I'm going to do a really short recap of MacStories this week because, we did the MacStories starter pack, and we're going to talk about that on App Stories next week in depth. But it was a lot of fun. I think people really enjoyed it. You did a bunch of shortcuts. I rounded up a bunch of apps and workflows and other things and a review of some hardware. And we all bundled it. We bundled it all together as part of the MacStories starter pack, publishing a couple of stories every single day and then some things on the club. So it's been a lot of fun. I also would remind people that earlier this week, it seems like an eternity ago to me, but on Monday we published an episode of App Stories that is all about some of the new apps that Federico and I are using or revisiting. Some of these are apps that we just haven't used in a while, and we're finding new uses for them. And we didn't quite get through all of our lists, so I think we'll revisit that at some point as well. All right, Federico, I want to talk about my pick. My pick is Ghosts of Tsushima. All right?
That is a fantastic game. Yes.
It is so good. This came out, I guess it was August 2020. And this was, this is one of the ones that I think you recommended to me when I finally got my hands on a PS5. And I'm very glad I downloaded it over the holidays. I didn't actually get to it during the holidays. I was doing other things. But over the last couple of weekends, I've really dug in and enjoyed this a lot. It's the director's cut that just came out last August. So the original game came out in 2020, but the director's cut was just this past August. And you play as a samurai warrior in the 1200s.
Jin Sakai. I remember the guy.
Jin Sakai. Yes, Jin Sakai. And Japan has been invaded by Mongols, and your group of samurai have been decimated by an attack by the Mongols, but you survive, and you're on a quest to get your uncle he's been captive as a prisoner by the Mongols, and the whole idea is to free him. At least that's the initial quest. And there are a bunch of different side quests and other things you have to do along the way. Recruit people to help you out along the way. And what I like about this game is, first of all, it's absolutely beautiful. I mean, this is the graphics of this game are just stellar. You really feel like you're in feudal Japan. It's really neat. And I like the music, the whole audio soundscape that's going on, as well as the storytelling. I think it tells a really nice story at a good pace.
Yeah.
I know that I saw some criticism of this game because, for instance, it doesn't give you like a little mini map in a HUD to tell you where to go next for your various quests. I actually kind of like that. It made me feel more immersed in the story.
It relies on this on the wind to sort of show you
the wind mechanic
where you're supposed to go next.
Right, and you don't have to go that way. I mean, it's kind of open world. You can kind of wander around and battle Mongols if you want. You can kind of play it in an aggressive way where you're battling people all the time, or you can play kind of a stealth mode. You've of course got your samurai sword initially, and then you collect other weapons along the way, like a bow and arrow and different kinds of arrows that you can use. And you have people who help you along the way as well, defeating Mongols and doing the side quests. And I just found the pacing of this really good. I've been playing this on easy mode, I will admit that, because I've been this is kind of my placeholder game until Pokemon comes out, and I'll pick it up again. But I knew I wasn't going to play this in really long sessions, and so I wanted to play kind of in a mode where I could pick it up and enjoy the story without feeling like I had to relearn the controls over and over again. The controls work really well. The battling is really great. I've enjoyed it a lot. And it's just been kind of a fun way to unwind at the end of the day and play, for an hour or so at a time, and doing that over the last couple of weekends. So I highly recommend it if you haven't tried it before. How have you finished this game, Federico?
Not yet. It's one of the many games that I sort of dropped at about 30-40% through the game. But I want to pick it up again.
Mm-hmm.
There's no... I think it's fine these days. Like these games, they age so well, graphically speaking, anyway.
Yeah, they really do.
And there's the director's cut version that is also available on PS5. It looks amazing on PS5. The first time I played it before the director's cut, I thought it looked incredible. This game, if you play at higher difficulty levels, it gets surprisingly challenging. Like the combat does not mess around, and you gotta get the timing right. Because this is not like a God of War or an Horizon game where it's very fast-paced combat. It can be very slow-paced, very tactical combat between samurai, which I'm totally fine with playing on like easy mode or story mode these days, because I want to enjoy games, but I also have to be, I gotta plan accordingly with my time. So I'm totally fine with
Yeah.
decreasing difficulty in games. But if you're looking for a challenge, this game will give you that.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, because it does, I think, does do a nice job at the different levels of doing that. All right. Well, I guess that's it for this week, Federico. I hope everybody enjoys their weekend. I'm really looking forward to Pokemon. I'm sure we'll be talking about it
Yes.
at some point in the future. I'll talk to you next week.
Ciao, John.